Okay. Well, somehow I've managed to not put it back very well. I'm going to try again. Hello, my friends. It's Chat with Matt. It's my third attempt, if not my fourth. I just did a full reset on everything I own. My phone, my Wi-Fi, everything. And we'll try again. I don't have much time, though, because I've got to go somewhere soon. But in the meantime, let me do my best to answer the questions that were posted, Bright Light Beings. Here we go. I even tried to do a little thing from my computer, which completely failed. Yeah, there's a whole heap of stuff there. Yeah. Hopefully it's working now, my friends, and someone gets onto this and it's working. That would be great, because it wasn't working before. So, Chat with Matt. Here we are. Sister Deep's question. Are you able to speak to the creatic self that we are all seemingly moving into as the new way of being? ? There is so much talk about creating from the 0 point, inspired from intention, but where does one start? So, most importantly, one starts by relaxing out of the stress of trying to do this right, out of getting caught up in what a lot of people are talking about, how important it is. Awesome, it's working now. Thank you, Sister Deepa. I had to reset everything. Completely turn my phone off, Wi-Fi, whatever. Yeah, reset everything. Now we seem to be on. That's all we do, right? If something doesn't work, just turn it on and off. But it all took time. So one starts by relaxing and getting out of the idea that you're supposed to do it a certain way and that you can fail at this, right? Because it just creates stress, and stress is the whatever. Stress really limits the ability to make good spiritual progress, to evolve, right? It contracts us down and keeps us small and tight. And one of the ways that we keep stress happening is by doubt, right? Thinking that maybe we're not doing it right, and then trying to measure and compare, right? I've said quite often, comparison is the thief of joy. It's more than that too. It basically robs us of evolution, because as soon as we start comparing ourselves with others and then measuring ourselves, wondering if we're doing it right or if we're doing it enough, all the rest of it, we slow ourselves right down. Trust is our biggest ally here, and this is a natural evolution that we're all going through. Yes, it's beneficial to have awareness. Hey, Andy, awesome that you're just down the road in Whanganui, or Wanganui, however we're supposed to say it these days. Yeah, so what's important is that you have an awareness that we're all going through a process of evolution, so that you create allowance for the fact that it's not particularly comfortable right now, that we are going through change, that we're sort of moving out of our head and doing things in a logical, sequenced way. Awesome. I'm glad you can hear me now, Fiona. Everything had gone to custard quite a few times. And now I'm in a rush because I've got to take Marie to the airport in like 15 minutes. So we're going to have a short chat with Matt, unfortunately, due to technical issues. Yeah, Marie's traveling, right? Cheeky. We're in level 2, so she's off. She's going somewhere warm, at least to the warmer end of this country. She's supposed to be going to Vietnam today. That's the issue. But obviously that isn't happening. Anywho, so yeah, relax into creating in a very natural way. Be aware that we're all going through a evolution into a new way of being, sort of out of the head, out of planning, out of doing things to the structure, and into a more fluid, divine, feminine, creative, flowing, creator way of doing things. In the moment, more artistic, more spontaneous way of doing things, and be aware that that is uncomfortable for our old egoic self that has been trained into doing things in a structure that it understands. We're moving out of being able to understand what we're doing and into a way of doing it innately, intuitively, instinctively. And then our mind goes, yeah, but I don't understand how to do that. And the point is, you'll never understand how to do that. So The way to move into the new way of being is to relax out of needing to understand how I'm going to be in this new way of being, and just allow yourself to be in it and hold compassion as you stumble and stagger at first, as we all have experiences that are not very comfortable for us, that might look like failures and all of the rest of it. It's part of the process of going through the progress of getting into it, or whatever, you know what I mean. It's part of the way of change. So it's going to be messy, and that's okay. And we don't need to measure ourselves, and we don't need to wonder if I'm doing it right. You can't do it wrong. Just relax and allow. Hopefully that helps just a deeper. Fiona asked, how can I best help a family member that is depressed and anxious but unable/unwilling to take action towards healing? Yeah, Fiona. So the first thing to do is to stop trying to heal them, or to want them to heal, and to hold space. Definitely noticing that being a big planner, definitely noticing that being a big planner. Maybe I have been a big planner. It's the way we've been trained. We've all been trained to do things with our mind, and it's kept us quite small and disempowered. And so it's not holding water anymore, and so we're going through a place of change. And we just have to let go of the old way of training, which is going to take time. Hey, Sister Alison. So moving on, Sister Fiona, the first thing to really help this family member is to not want to help them, to not be lacking being able to help them, and to be comfortable in the fact that you can only help them as they are willing to accept. Your job is to help them accept your help, which is going to happen through a process of relaxation and through a process of them feeling safe, which it means you have to take the pressure off them, that they are supposed to heal, that they're supposed to get better, that the anxiety and the depression is wrong, because the anxiety and the depression is not wrong. It's part of their process. They are basically expressing what they are releasing, right? These old energies that have been in their field for a very long time, these old energies of both stress and fear, which comes up as anxiety, and grief and sadness, which comes up as depression, and they run in together because we get stressed and feared about everything that's dangerous that makes us feel sad and depressed, right? So we get this looping. So the depression itself is not a wrongness. So unfortunately, society has made certain things wrong, which then puts a stress around it, which then, well, what we resist persists, right? And depression is one of those things. We make depression wrong because we're supposed to live in a world where we do, and we're valued on what we do in the world, or what we succeed at, what we produce or consume. And depressed people don't produce and consume very much at all. They're just being in a state of emotional release. So society doesn't value that, so therefore that's a wrongness. And then putting a layer of wrongness on top of being in a state of emotional release, right, of sadness and depression, doesn't help. So first thing is stop making them wrong. Second thing is to hold very loving and compassionate space, that you are open to them expressing what they are feeling, right? Now, they won't understand what they're feeling, so it's not a mental process. But when you hold an inviting space for them basically to relax into being okay with the fact that they're going through a process of release, then it can happen much more effectively, and they will come through the depression or anxiety, right? That's first and foremost. You can do other things to support them by supplying them with more light and all the rest of it innately, and opening up to holding conversation for them in a very relaxed way. But don't push them to fix themselves like they are broken, because they are not broken, right? And as soon as you start intimating, and they already feel broken because society's already projecting brokenness on someone who is in depression, and I know about it because I've had many waves of such through the years. It's a matter of relaxing into the fact that they are still an innately divine being expressing themselves as such, even though they are anxious and depressed. Hopefully that helps. I was sure there was something else. That's why I was rushing so much, but it doesn't seem to be. Was it only the two questions? Because Rosemary just asked a very simple question: does it happen here? And it is. Hey, Brother Rich. Hey, Alison. I think I said hey before. Apologies for the fact that this started in such a rough way with 3 attempts and it kept falling out. I had to restart my phone and my Wi-Fi, and now it seems to be working okay, which is good news for me because I was freaking out that I wasn't able to connect. So I rushed through that because I was short on time, and I've still got 7 minutes to go. So what else? Did I miss something from up here? I was kind of... Awesome. Yeah, hit me up, someone. I'm here to serve. Here to serve before I've got to drive to the airport. What have I got going on in my life? I've got a Tell Us Someone interview in 48 hours. So that's going to be great. Glad that helped, Fiona. And be patient, right? Be patient. That's important. Time doesn't really exist. There's no rush to heal. As much the same with Deepa's question, there's no rush to become the creator. We are the creator. It's a process of awakening. That's all we are. We're just awakening to who we've always been, which is a process of peeling away delusions that have kept us in illusion of sleep, right? In illusion of disconnection. And then, of course, carrying wounding around all of that helps to justify, verify, prove that we're disconnected. I'm going to talk more about that in 2 days' time with Ian Shelley because I'm doing a Tell Us Someone interview on awakening into your empowered self as a sovereign being. I'm going to talk a lot about the process of awakening and the pitfalls in awakening, because it's not just a matter of like we wake in the morning and open our eyes, because what we're opening our eyes to, becoming aware of is difficult for us to digest. Most people, that what's going on around us in the world is, beyond what most of us can comprehend. And who we are as a spiritual being is beyond what we can comprehend. So the awakening process isn't like asleep or awake. It's a very gradual process of deepening our maturity to understand stuff, not to mentally understand it, but to be able to hold space for it. Brother Rich, hey Matt, do you think it's skillful to give instruction on how to find counterbalance to some of the negative energies? I'm going to read this over here, maybe. Where is this? Matt was live, Matt is live. Do you think it's skillful to give instruction on how to find counterbalance to some of the negative energies? In other words, identifying contracting greed, gaslighting, manipulations, etc., and transmuting the enlightenment from the muck? Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a really, I think it's a really slippery slope. I think it is valid and definitely valuable to increase our awareness around what is going on, to identify the way, for example, that greed has been running the world, and the way that greed, and lack mentality in general has kept many of us, the majority of the population, enslaved to a system that is basically running in greed, right? The people at the top are greedy and collecting, and the way that they're doing it is by keeping everyone else in greed as well. Ironically, everyone is running in greed that we need more, and then they don't give us more, so they keep us in lack and wanting and unhappy, and thus easy to control, and they're just milking the system. So to help people understand that is valuable, as long as you're doing it in a way that doesn't trigger them into a level of anger or depression that is destabilizing for them, right? Because what we're really looking to help people do, and I believe what will really help society shift, is to empower people to basically step into their heart and to really advocate for the solution, or not the solution, to advocate for the outcome that they desire. By just pointing out everything that's wrong, tends to put people into a spin, almost like, well, what's the point then? The world's effed up. Or it just makes them angry and want to fight against what they perceive has been robbing them, right? This idea that I'm the victim, these people have been manipulating me for so long, I want to punish them for that. that isn't going to work, right? Because what we fight against, we feed. What we resist will persist. And so it's really important to help people not to go into just fight against the machine, because that will feed the machine, right? The machine sells bullets on both sides of the equation and makes money every time a shot is fired. They don't lose in a fight, right? So even fighting against them is that they'll sell you bullets to fight against them, because they know they can't be killed that way, right? And they'll just keep raking in the money as they're selling you bullets, right? That's their game. So we need to come in from a completely different playing field to make significant change against dealing with the incumbent dark authorities here. And it's to come from love, not fear and fight. So there is a validity in revealing what's been going on with the greed, with the gaslighting, with the way that we're being manipulated, to help people come to a state of peace where they can break out of the narrative that's keeping them entrapped. But we have to do it in a way where we don't just make the narrative wrong and inspire a fight against that narrative. And it is very difficult. It is difficult, Rich. It really is, even for me, because I personally get lost in it sometimes. I personally get lost in the narrative and how depressingly, quote unquote, wrong what's going on is. And I know that that's just my opinion that it's wrong. And my opinion's valid, but if I start fighting from that space, it's just not going to help. It's not going to help. So hopefully that little thing helped. Andy wrote, how do we deal with people on Facebook that think my views are conspiracy, as in they comment negative on my post, apart from unfriending them as one is a friend from childhood? Yeah, it's difficult, Andy. It is really difficult, and I've been helping a couple of other people with this. Many of us are feeling the need to stand up and express our opinions now, and to express what is going on in the world that we don't feel is just or fair or beneficial, right? And so we need to be willing to express our opinions, and we need to understand that is going to upset people, because many people are clinging to the narrative of normality as its life and death, because they are not prepared yet to let it go. They don't feel safe enough to move out of the idea that mainstream is looking after them, right? Because that inherently helps people to relax. When they believe the medical profession is looking after them, they can relax. When they believe our political system is looking after them, they can relax. If they believe our education system is doing the best for us all, they can relax. And when we start putting out points of view that perhaps none of that is true, that is incredibly threatening, and they're going to push back against that. They don't want to know that truth because it's too much beyond what they can cope with and still feel okay in the world. So part of the way forward, and this is what I'm talking about in a couple of days when I'm talking about awakening into our sovereign self, is the idea that we can't shake people awake and just say, hey, the world's fucked up, you've got to wake up and start fighting against this thing, because they're not prepared to do so yet. We need to help them find a confidence within themselves. So one thing for me is, I don't try and put out a lot of information about how effed the world is anymore. I put out information about what we need to do to stand in our strength and to really be strong and connected with our own space of love. So I'm more about talking about the outcome that I'm looking for and potential ways of practicing into a solution of that, rather than saying, this is all wrong, we need to change it, because people don't have the tools to change it yet. So it's important to help people find their confidence in themselves at this stage, and that's difficult with how do we help these people who are asleep. So in some ways, a lot of our contacts on our Facebook feed are just not our tribe, and we can't really speak to them about this stuff. So potentially just ease back on it. And it's not, and there's a difficult line there, because we don't want to be, we don't want to be complicit in what's going down. And at the same time, we need to work in a way that's empowered to get the outcome that we desire. So there's a very fine line there. And it's about expressing opinions with an undercurrent of love rather than fear, in my opinion, right, too. And you know, a lot of the shit that's going on and people are just sharing, basically conspiracy theories, and much of this conspiracy theory has elements of control all the way through it. A lot of it is what we call controlled resistance or controlled opposition, right? A lot of the things out there are selling disempowered solutions, you know, like the David Wilcox, the David Icke, all of that stuff, right? There's elements of truth in it all, and yet there's a disempowering overflow. Like, they're part of the establishment putting out a counter idea to give people an outlet that basically leads to a dead end, right? No real evolution happens through this stuff of thinking that the white hats or the ETs or the benevolence are going to save the planet. And then right at this moment, you know, Donald Trump's working to overthrow the... It's not happening, my friends. That's not happening. And it's just keeping people complacent. So I've got to go in a moment. But the point is... we are here to empower each other to stand in our own truth and not to get caught up in the narratives that are playing out, and to step out beyond those narratives and to advocate for a completely different energetic beingness on this planet, right? A complete change. It's not going to come from the top down in a change of policy. It's going to arise from the grassroots as more and more people stand up in heartfelt allegiance with each other, right? And this is another thing I'm going to talk about with David Ian Shelley, is this idea of being sovereign and still being in unity, right? So we're all individuals completely of our own authority, and yet we are all interconnected and basically one. So we're in community as sovereign beings. And while that might sound like anarchy, when we're all aligned with the same loving energy flowing through us, we all naturally work together. We don't need a rule-based tyranny to keep us all on the straight and narrow. That's going to take a little bit of time to evolve, but that's where we're going. And so it's an interesting juxtaposition in our mind of how we can be sovereign and be in unity at the same time. Sorry, I'm really running out of time because Marie's going to be jumping up and down outside next to the car in a minute. Leslie, and you can't know anything for sure from a factual point of view. Exactly right. So all of what's being presented to us is manipulated information. All of it without a question. A lot of the counter narratives are being manipulated in many ways to suit their agenda, right? So you can't trust your mind anymore to do this in a mental, analytical way. We can't just look at the facts and work this shit out anymore. It's all being twisted. No one really knows. No one really knows the truth of what's going on. So we just have to rest into our heart and advocate for the solution we want and make decisions as best we can in the moment. It's not about complying, but it's not about fighting against it. It's about just stepping sideways and going, this is my reality and I'm working from here, and not to get too caught up in what might happen, right? In terms of, you know, negative outcomes of martial law or this force this or whatever, right? All sorts of potentials. I apologize for all of you who I've missed the questions that were flying through, but I have to go. And I know this was a bit short because I had a lot of trouble getting on, but I will be back next week. And if you haven't cottoned on to Wisdom of the Ancients, I think it's going to be a really, really powerful interview in 48 hours time, or 47 and a half hours time, it'll be starting. Then look it up. I'll put another link in here when I get home, because I've just got to do a drive now for a couple of hours. Much love to you all, my friends. I look forward to serving you in some way. We will be back next week, if not before, in some way, form or another. Much love, many blessings. Bye for now. Namaste.